everyone, welcome back to my channel, and I've got a really cool video for you today. It's my top 5 favorite beginner tarantula species. If you're a beginner and you're just now getting into tarantulas and you're doing some research, I definitely suggest watching this video. And if you're an experienced person and you're just kind of curious what my opinion is, definitely stay tuned and give me some feedback. What do you think of my choices? What would your choices be?
Okay, and this is what I personally chose as my first tarantula, which is a Brekkie Poma albopilosum, or commonly called a curly hair. They are a little bit more skittish sometimes. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And they do have a tendency to flick their hairs more than I would say a grammostola typically. Not always, but yeah. In this case, I would say so, yeah. But mine is now a mature male. Before he matured, he hid a lot, and you will see, you know, this was his hide and everything, but since maturing, I don't even see him go into the hide. Good eater, even as a mature male, still eating good. Not really too worried about the humidity. Definitely provide them water, which, you know, this definitely needs some water, but definitely provide water. Don't worry about misting, nothing like that. I wouldn't recommend handling these just because they do like to flick their hairs. During every rehousing I've done with both of my, well, most of my Brekkie Poma, I've gotten hair kicked at me. So, you know, and there's, I wouldn't say it's like super irritating, but like you can tell, like you really wouldn't want that on you. But look at this coloring. I mean, he is just gorgeous. Super pretty, metallic. They're definitely more, I would say they're definitely more interesting to look at than a Grammostola porteri or a rose hair, but that's just my opinion. Definitely better eaters though if you're going to compare the two, so that's something to keep in mind. If you want a tarantula that has a pretty good appetite as your first, I would probably say a Brekkie Poma albopilosum would be one of the best choices. This is Wester, and he's a really cool guy. Really chill, and I definitely recommend these to beginners. Great, so this is a Grammostola porteri, and this is a very debated species for a beginner, and I'll give you 2 reasons why a lot of people recommend against getting them as a first tarantula. Number 1 reason is that they are moody. They do not always tolerate handling. Some people think that any rose hair you can just pick up and handle. That is not the case with these guys. Some of them do get defensive, some of them will go into threat posture, and some of them will flick hairs. Mine personally has never flicked hairs. However, she has gone into threat posture just over almost nothing. So that is definitely something to keep in mind. But that said, I wouldn't exactly knock this species as not a beginner species only over that, because I mean, that's any tarantula. Any tarantula has a mood. And so you can't really say that this isn't a beginner species. I prefer it to be dry even, so that is really easy. You don't have to worry about, you know, misting it ever. Just make sure it has water. But as you see, mine doesn't even really care for the water. She just fills it up with dirt, and I empty it, and I give her water sometimes, and I've never seen her drink, but, you know, definitely still provide water. The other reason why some people recommend against them is because they tend to go on hunger strikes. And, you know, that is just something that comes along with a lot of Grammostola species. I wouldn't say that that makes them not beginner friendly though, just because it can be worrisome for a new tarantula owner whose spider hasn't eaten in like 6 months. But at the same time, if you know that going into it and you know that's normal behavior, then you shouldn't even really be concerned. It shouldn't really be a problem. You just offer food every, you know, week or 2, and if they don't take it, then, you know, you try again. It's not a huge deal. Just offer food occasionally, and sometimes they'll take it, sometimes they won't. If they're in pre-molt, they probably won't, but after a molt, mine especially, super hungry. Takes food like a champ now. But when I first got her, she did not eat for 4 months. Like I said though, going in, I knew that was something that these guys did, so I wasn't really that concerned. It's just knowing your tarantula, look at her, she's just gonna climb on out. But it's just knowing your tarantula species and what to expect from them, in my opinion. So yeah, because they're so easy to care for, you just need, you know, dry substrate, a water bowl, and a hide. I mean, that's just, oh God, don't come out. But I mean, that just makes it pretty easy. So definitely recommend Grammostola porteris. Okay, so this is definitely one of my top species that I would recommend. These are McHale Codys, and they are actually native to parts of the United States, so you could actually find these in the wild, but definitely wouldn't recommend that. They are really docile for the most part. I mean, every tarantula has moods, but I wouldn't expect any like aggressive behavior out of one of these, though it is possible, you know, so keep that in mind. These guys are pretty inexpensive, and they're not very hard to find, and they're really good eaters. This is a very busy tarantula. I see this specific one carrying dirt around, putting it, you know, around its hide, and just really cool. This one is a little bit more shy. I've handled this one before and didn't really have any issues, but as you can see, it's a little shy right now, so not going to bother it too much. All you need for them is a hide and a water dish and pretty dry substrate, but I would recommend pretty deep because they really do tend to burrow if given the opportunity, so you can see there. But it's kind of weird because this one has, you know, burrowed, and that's a coconut hide right there, and you see like what this one has done to its enclosure compared to this one. This one doesn't really burrow. I've seen it use the coconut hut once maybe. Usually he tends to go behind the cork bark, so yeah. One interesting thing though, I feel like these tarantulas really drink water a lot, so make sure that you provide adequate water for them. They don't necessarily need humidity or anything like that, but I definitely catch both of them drinking water a lot compared to my other tarantulas, and I don't know if that's just like a coincidence or what, but just for that reason alone, I would definitely say provide a nice water dish and keep it pretty full. So, McHale Codys. This is possibly my top tarantula recommendation for beginners. It's really tied between the McHale Codys and this, which is a Grammostola pulchripes. And I really love mine. And she tolerates handling like a champ. Again, I do not recommend handling, but if you are really adamant on getting a tarantula that you could potentially handle, definitely a Grammostola pulchripes or an McHale Codys. This is, like, I wouldn't say a great eater, but she does eat, just not in front of me. I put a cricket in and it disappears eventually. So, I mean, you're not going to get a huge show out of them like you will from other species. And I know that a lot of beginners are really into the feeding of them, so it might be something that changes your mind a little bit on if you want to go with one of these. But they get so big, so big. I mean, this one's pushing 7-ish inches, maybe more, and she's still got room to grow. So, I mean, that says a lot. I'm trying to get out. Another thing is they're really easy to care for. Just provide water, provide a decent amount of substrate, and a hide. This is just cork bark, and she kind of dug it out a little bit with a plant. So nothing too intricate. I mean, just a little tub like this from Target or whatever is fine. No humidity requirements at all. Just make sure you've got a nice full water dish because, you know, every tarantula pretty much appreciates that. And just look at her coloring. Like, this is a big reason why I would recommend them, is because they've really got that wow factor about them compared to other, like, beginner species. Alright, and this is another popular beginner species. This is a dwarf species, Euthyllus species red. And they are very easygoing, which is why a lot of people are drawn to them. And they're black with that pretty red flame on their rump. They are not the best eaters, but they grow so slow and they live a long time. This is a teenager, actually, a friend of mine raised from a sling. And I actually just picked her up, so I can't tell you that much about her specifically. But for the species alone, I can tell you that they are a very forgiving and very curious species. For a beginner, I would definitely suggest these.
Hey, so I hope you all enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think. If you are a beginner, let me know what you think you're gonna go with. And if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe. See you soon.